Just let him know that he's coming on.
I am here. Can you hear me?
I heard that.
Yep.
Yes.
Good morning.
Mike. Hi.
Yes.
There's Mike. Good morning, everybody. Mike is online today, and the rest of us, some of us are in-house. And Cynthia is her husband.
I hear you.
All is well where she is. So, Mike, take it away.
Okay. Can everyone hear me?
Uh-huh.
Good morning.
Good
And
morning.
welcome. Thank you. Thank you all for joining us in this spirit of perfect harmony. We are the Center for Spiritual Living, West Georgia. We study and practice the philosophy and the science of the mind we know as God. And with our spiritual presence and our participation in our service here this morning, we create a higher state of consciousness, rise above any negative energy we may have experienced this past week, and manifest love. We know love is synonymous to God, our most powerful yet most gentle force in the universe. Without further ado, I would like to pass it on to the outstanding, excellent Reverend Dr. Sandra Jackson, our master teacher.
Okay, so for those of you that are online, I just want you to know that I miss seeing you because, as you see, if I look at you, I have to turn around. And they're always telling me, don't turn around. So anyway, so I love you and I miss you. And I just want you to know that hang around some, if you can, every now and then. And because the people who do, we actually, open up. And those of us here in the present space, we say hello to those of you who have been online. So, there's just a few people that hang around, but if you can stay around for a few minutes afterwards, then we can all say hi and we can see who is there that we miss seeing every week. Okay, let us begin by turning within and opening our hearts, our minds, making ourselves fully and completely available in this now moment. And to do that, we have to let go of whatever has gone before. We have to let go of whatever may come after this. We have to allow ourselves to be in the present moment and just simply breathe. Notice your breath. Notice that it comes in and it goes out. That there's a necessity for you to take in, but you also have to do what? In order to live, you have to let go. So in this moment, we just simply notice that we take in life and at the same time we let it go. We take in life and we let it go. And each time we let it in, we have to let it go because that is how life is. You're here not to hold on to, but to live through, to live our life fully and completely in the now moment. And so we are knowing that this life is God's life moving in us and through us and as us. And as we let go, we always have that we can draw in as well. And so it is a reminder that we are always, always within the love, the wisdom, the creativity, the joy, and the very life of God itself. And so we are at peace in this moment as we allow ourselves to feel and to know this truth about ourselves. And so with gratitude, We come together in community today to be reminded of this truth, to be reminded of this truth so that it may inform all the days of our life. And so with gratitude, I release this word, knowing it is already done, that it is manifesting in our lives perfectly from this moment on. And so it is. And so let us stand and say our vision and mission. Those of you out there, I hope you are saying it with us. CSL West Georgia is a joyful global community where everyone belongs. Through our unique spiritual teachings, we provide a safe environment to experience compassionate living. Our declaration of principles. I believe in God, the living Spirit Almighty, one indestructible, absolute, and self-existent cause. This one manifests itself in and through all creation, but is not absorbed by its creation. I believe in the incarnation of the Spirit in all, and that we are all incarnations of the one Spirit. And so we are without music today. Are you going to do something? Okay. All right, let's do the reading and then we'll do that. Okay. We are making changes today. Yay, yay, woo, woo, woo.
And we do our dance. We're a happy group, aren't we, guys? Yes, we're coming in this. We're going to do what I'm supposed to do. When we were coming in this morning, we were talking about gratitude because I got out of the car and I said, you know, it is a great day. Look at this. We're not cooking to death. We don't live in Texas. Yay! And we don't have pouring rain. Everything is green and pretty. So let's be grateful, grateful, grateful. Okay? We all know that works. This morning, the reading is from the Holmes Papers, Ideas of Power. It's a talk by Dr. Ernest Holmes, and it's called How to Make Yourself and Others Happy. We can't help but create. A person who doesn't love something, a person who isn't happy, a person who isn't loved and doesn't make others happy, and others don't make him happy, is unexpressed. Something about him is born and died and going around inside him like a corpse which he is carrying, and we all carry too many of them. There is something unexpressed, and he isn't yet awake and alive and aware of the great realities of life. That is why we miss those whom we love. They open a channel to us. But back of it all, what is happening? God made us out of himself. Why? There wasn't anything else God could make. God is all there is. God and nothing, God plus nothing, leaves nothing but God. We are born of eternal day and made in the image of God to traverse a heavenly way. We have to love. We have to be loved. We can't be happy without love, and we can't be happy without security. Now, there is a pressure against everybody to live, to dance, to sing, and I know because part of my activity for 45 years is to take people's hair down and see what they look like. I mean, their reality, dealing with people where they live. They are all just alike. We are all just alike, except that each is an individualization, a unique representation. But our emotions, our thoughts, our feelings, our longings, our needs, the needs of the human being, he must love and be loved. He must be happy and make others happy, because he can't be happy unless he does. And back of it all, there is the great urge to live.
All right. Thank you, Sandy. All right. So now, yes, do I want what? Yes. Okay. Sharice, I didn't know who it was. Sharice, you're on.
Where would Moses be if he'd succumbed to slavery? Put his dreams up high upon a shelf. If he turned from the water and just walked home by himself to never see the promised land and to never save another man. It all started with a thought that turned into a dream, a fire burning in the soul of a single human being. Every dream that is lived is a dream come true. Stand up for your dreams, to thine own self be true. But if Martin Luther King had been afraid one day and never stood up to the ones who tried to take his rights away, all the pain and tears would never wash away, never walk hand in hand, never learn to take a stand. It all started with a thought that turned into a dream, a fire burning in the soul of a single human being. Every dream that is lived is a dream come true. So stand up for your dreams, to thine own self be true. Never let another take the dreams God's given you. Go out and live your dreams, do what you've always wanted to. Wanted to. And what about our church and all the people that you see? Had we been afraid to search, we'd never learned to be free. But now we see the truth, and anything we want can be. So we hold our heads up high as we spread our wings and fly. It all started with a thought that turned into a dream, a fire burning in the soul of a single human being. Every dream that is lived is a dream come true. So stand up for your dreams, to thine own self be true. Stand up for your dreams, to thine own self be true.
We have to tell Cynthia to have Sharice make some more videos for us.
If he'd succumb to slavery,
Okay. She was so great, we were going to do it again. Oh, golly. So today, this month, we're talking about relationships, the wonder of relationships. And today we're talking about you and I are we. So, Marcia, the first slide is CSL Vision is Centers for Spiritual Living has a vision, and its vision is a world that works for everyone. You can leave that up for just a minute. A world that works for everyone. Think about that. Think about that. Do you think that's even possible? What does it mean to you? This is our Centers for Spiritual, this is the vision for our whole organization. Okay? It is a world that works for everyone. How does that impact you? How do you think about that? How is it something that you can take on? Can you buy into it? Do you feel that it's a possibility? Is this something that you would be willing to, this is my vision too. I want to buy into this. Okay. I want to see that a world that works for everyone. So what thoughts do you hear? Or, what thoughts come up to you? What feelings are aroused in you when you hear that? Because we don't talk about it every single week. But I'll tell you, many of my talks are centered around that idea, that a world that works for everyone, because I believe that this world can work for everyone, but not in the way that you might think about it if you just think about it from the physical point of view, okay? Because we don't all want the same things, right? So therefore, sometimes what happens is we clash. I want something that you don't want, and people think, well, in order to have what I want, I have to take it away from somebody else, right? So we have all that stuff going on. So there's something about this statement that requires us to move beyond something. So you can take it down now, thanks. I was, actually, this came from a lot of years of processing and working. Before we had CSL Centers for Spiritual Living, in fact, this is the 10th year of our organization. It's a 10th year anniversary. And before that, there was United Church of Religious Science and Religious Science International. And the churches in Atlanta area were mostly religious, like the Atlanta church was an RSI or Religious Science International. And some of us on the West Coast, myself included, were in the United Church of Religious Science. They were all over the country, but basically they had two organizations. Ernest Holmes started Religious Science Institute, and they had, people have different ideas about how organizations should be run. And so they split into two different organizations, and they ran their organizations differently. But those of us who were not around at the time of the split in, I think it was 1959, kept saying, why are we different? Because we would go to the other, we're teaching all the same stuff. Only thing that is different is the organizations. And so in the 90s, United started, we did some self-analysis, shall we say, okay? And we found that we were pretty bureaucratic, and we wanted to change that. So we did a lot of work and surveys and conferences and stuff with ministers, lay people, practitioners. We all got together and talked, and we sent out surveys, and people sent them back, and we tallied them, everything. And then we had a big convention in 2000, I think it was. And we came up with this as we hired an outside consultant. And, he led us through our values, and we came up with spiritual guiding principles as well as a vision. And when CSL when the two organizations got together, everybody liked it. So they kept those spiritual guiding principles and the vision. So I just want to talk today, about our vision, because it really is about you and I or we. You and I are we. And sometimes, you know, we ask ourselves, is this actually possible? It's hard. It really, you stop and think about it. It's really a hard, I mean, just thinking about us here as a community and being a sense of we, you know, because we know each other, we have a sense of we, don't we? But what is it making us we? Feel connected to one another. It's that connection. So we know who Connie is. We don't know a whole lot of things about her. We maybe have not been to her house and everything, but we know her heart. We know how loving she is. We listen to her sing and we see her and we just like, yes, we know Connie, right? And we can say that about everybody in here and out there too. We have a sense of connection. So anybody we have a sense of connection with, then we feel like their world, we want their world to work. Okay? But what about those other people? You know, last Sunday we stood up here, we wished everybody it was July 3rd, and we wished everybody happy July 4th, go home, be safe, enjoy yourself. And then on the 4th, what happens? Some person decided that, you know what? Some people don't need to live anymore. They don't need to live, you know, we'll just get rid of them. One person made a decision and eliminated 11 people's lives. That's not a world that works for everyone. How can someone decide that it's your time to die? Now, I remember years ago, people would say, well, you know, their time was up, right? I mean, it's just, you know, when your time's up, your time's up. Well, how can you say the time was up for two parents with a 2-year-old? Okay, I just, you know, I can maybe, I don't agree, but maybe you can say, well, the time was up for the 80-year-old person. Well, you know what? I'm not 80 yet, but I don't want you to decide at 80 that I'm gone out of here. You know, I say, okay. So then, not only that, then what happens Friday? One person, once again, decided to kill somebody who has made a difference in millions of people's lives for years and years and years. It's just, you know, one person decides how all of life should be for everybody else. I don't know, this last few months, it has been, I'm saying this to you, but I've been thinking about it a lot. It's like how one person or 2 or 3 people make decisions that affect everybody. And it's not about what's good for everybody, but it's good for their own perspective. Think about that. Then we had, you know, we've been working on climate, right? For years and years and years, we've been working on climate. I was in California when Nixon came up with the Clean Air Act. And I mean, California, you lived in California, the smog was amazing, okay? I lived in San Jose. And it was like, I don't even want to tell you what year it was, but we flew down to Los Angeles to visit. And over the Central Valley, because California is on the ocean, but the Central Valley is between 2 mountain ranges, the coastal mountain ranges and the Sierras, okay? And so you've got the Central Valley, where is, you know, the food basket, you know, when your fruits and vegetables stuff, much of it comes from, you know, the Central Valley. Okay, so here we are flying over that, it's like this layer of smog was just laying over the valley. Above it was clouds and blue sky and everything, but here's this brown, mucky stuff. See those brown pants she has on? That's the color of smog. That's what it looked like, okay? This was, maybe mid-70s or something like that, or maybe a little earlier? It was before the Clean Air Act, okay? Remember that? Then so I was in San Jose, it was relatively clean. The air was relatively clean. But when we got to Los Angeles, I was walking him out, my eyes were burning and I was coughing and everything. And I'm going like, what is going on? And somebody told me, oh, it's the smog. What? Smog? Okay. It just settles. Yes. It's exactly. It's like fog. It's smoky fog. Okay. And it just sits there and it makes you sick. Okay. Asthma. It just, and other respiratory diseases. Okay. So California came up with the Clean Air Act. Nixon made it for the whole country. And California does everything that California does towards environment and clean air and all that kind of stuff moves from the west east. Okay. The cars there have for years had, special stuff, whatever you have to do. You could not buy a car in New York and drive it to California without having catalytic converters or whatever those things are called. Okay. So people stop buying cars other places. They just buy cars in California, car industry. I mean, they have cars like crazy, but there's all kinds of restrictions. Guess what happened? Recently, the EPA, which was in charge of all of that, is no longer going to be in charge of, getting clean air and all that. That's like now, we have 5 or 6 people and Supreme Court decided we didn't need that. We didn't need to have clean air. I don't know about you, but the smog in California being over the whole country is not a cool thing, okay? It is not a cool thing. So the thing is that I think the easiest, clearest, most current, that's the word I'm looking for, expression and understanding of this is people talking about it's their freedom to wear a mask or not. And to some degree, that is absolutely true. And the thing is that what we have and what that interpretation of freedom is that I am free to do what I want to do, and what I do does not affect what you do. That's not freedom. That's not spiritual freedom. Okay, so Walter Starkey wrote a book. Now keep this in mind, that it was 1969 when this book came out. So what had happened in 1968? The assassinations of King and Kennedy, okay? Those two, and the country was in a lot of turmoil. Only a few years before, John Kennedy had been assassinated, right? The Vietnam War was still going on, and there was a lot of protests and stuff going on, all right? So he writes this book in 1969, and he says, in order to love others, it is absolutely imperative that we start by loving ourselves. That we start by loving ourselves. But then listen to the next sentence. That is why I have so often said that our first responsibility is to our own selves, that every action is rightly a selfish one. Because you have to take care of yourself first, right? If you don't take care of your body, guess what? You have to go to the doctor, and you have to do other things, right? You have to take care of your own finances, your own home. You have to take care of your own self, right? But then he says, selfishness is no longer such a down idea. Down, this is 69, remember? Selfishness is no longer such a down idea when we realize who we actually are, that we are one with all others. Just as the branch is one with the vine, but for the same reason, what we do with ourselves involves our duty to all mankind. Now stop and think about it. Stop and think about how you felt when you heard about the parade shooting. Think about how did you feel when that happened? Did you go like, yippee, great, wonderful, 7 more people we don't have to deal with in this world? Or did you go like, what, again? And just your whole demeanor went, just like that. Your whole energy just went flop. Okay? What happened when you heard about the shooting of Uvalde? Okay? And that keeps going on, doesn't it? All right? I mean, stop and think about the things that have happened in the last few months. What has done to you? What has happened to your energy? Every time when something happens, you turn on the TV, or it shows up on your phone, right? If you have one of those phones, it comes little messages on the phone telling you what happened. These are things that affect everybody, and that's what he's saying. And he said, Jesus said, "If I be lifted up, I will draw all mankind unto me." Because he realized, Jesus, this is Walter now, because he realized he was connected with all mankind in the one body of humanity, he could just as well have said, "If I fall down, I will drag all mankind down with me." So what happens when we hear these murders and all this stuff? Everybody's getting done like this. Everybody's in a grieved state. People are starting to realize that the pandemic is traumatized our whole country, our whole world, because it forced us to be counter to who we are as people. We want to be together. We want to be in community together. And the pandemic has split us apart, and we're not ready to get back together yet because the COVID is still around, right? And so the thing is that things lift us up, but they also bring us down. So let's do a little test. We talked about those things. So you know how churches have those signs out front, like the Presbyterian churches or the Baptist churches, the Lutheran churches or whatever. They'll have those signs, telling you what time, and then they'll have some words there. Okay, so here's some church signs. One said, "Staying in bed screaming, 'Oh God,' does not constitute going to church." Okay, or how about this? God says, "Keep using my name in vain and I'll make rush hour longer." I saw that, I laughed out loud. I was like, God. And he says, and another one said, don't criticize your wife's judgment. See whom she married. I pointed again. Gloria's sitting right there. And another one was, we'll all love this one. "I wish Noah had swatted those 2 mosquitoes." Or how about this one? This is the best one. "We are still open between Christmas and Easter." Oh, geez, those are just like that's just. They're all. Why do we laugh at that? Because they connect us, right? We understand rush hour, okay? We understand this whole thing about Christmas and Easter and being open during that time. We're between Christmas and Easter right now, okay? Rather, we're between Easter and Christmas right now, and we're open, okay? We all understand this. And what did it do to us? It brought us up. It gave us laughter, okay? Laughter brings us out of all that trauma. It brings us out of that sense of sadness and the upset and the fear. And one of the things that Walter Starkey says is that it's the fear that is causing some of the problems that we have. Now, he's talking 1969, but it's very relevant today, okay? He says there really aren't any people in the world. There are just states of consciousness expressing itself in many different forms, but there is only one self. When we are really aware of that, we see ourselves in all people and would no more think of trying to lie, cheat, fool, or trick another person than we would deliberately try to fool ourselves. So when we have a sense of our oneness, when we know that we are not alone here, that we are spiritual beings, and we're expressing ourselves, then we know that to hurt one is to hurt all. You see? And then he says, scientists tell us daily, now we have passed this point, right? But scientists tell us daily discoveries that make old systems obsolete, causing us to lose faith in the old ways. Evolution, revolution, change, they are all part and parcel of the same thing. And we will probably continue this process of gaining and losing faith over and over until we grow our full spiritual being. Any desire I might have had to turn the clock back to the good old days, which some people are trying to do right now, came because, ready for this? I was frightened of change. I didn't want to retreat to the past. I wanted to get away from the present. Ooh, I saw that and was like, I got to share that with you. It's not about going back to the past. It's about being afraid of the present. Think about that. How scary some of this stuff is we're dealing with. You know, if you watch movies that were from before 2007, 2007, okay, we're here. We all remember this. If you look at the telephones they use, it's like they got flip phones. Okay, it's like you go like, but if you look, you know, if you watch Downton Abbey, they don't have phones at all. You know, my grandmother lived through the whole 20th century. And sometimes I just was like, how did you do that? How could you incorporate? I mean, she lived through 2 world wars, the Depression, and then, you know, Jim Crow, she's a Black woman, okay? She moved from the South to the North to the West and then back to the South. You know, I mean, just all of this. One of the women who was a practitioner at the San Jose church when I first started going there, Bonnie was, I don't know how old she was. She was older than I was. But guess what? Her family had moved west in a covered wagon in the 1900s. Okay? So, I mean, stop and think about that. Airplanes were thought of, cars were thought of in the 1800s, but it wasn't until we got them in the 20th century. And I mean, it's just like, what amazes me is that the few years that they figured out how to fly planes, they figured out how to bomb the heck out of places at the same time. Do you know, it's like we do these wonderful things and then we figure out how to hurt other people with them because we are, what he's saying here is we're afraid of where we're going. Well, if we are spiritual beings and we know that God is good, then wherever we're going is what? Good. It has to be. It has to be. So here's a wonderful story that I wanted to share because it is a story of connection. Let's say it that way. Okay? It'll bring you down, but it'll bring you back up. And so I just want you to pay attention to how you're feeling as you're reading through the story. I don't know, maybe some of you have heard about it. This story is about forgiveness, grace, and compassion. And it's about a tragedy that occurred on October 2nd, 2006 at the West Nickel Mine School. This is a one-room schoolhouse in the Old Order Amish community of Nickel Mines, a village in Bart Township, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. And it was launched into the media when a gunman took 10 girls aged 6 to 13 hostage. He then shot 8 of them, killing 5 before killing himself in the schoolhouse. Does it sound familiar? This is 2006, okay? It is easy to envision the Amish community feeling hatred for the man who perpetrated this act of violence. And yet, On the day of the shooting, a grandfather of one of the murdered Amish girls was heard warning some young relatives not to hate the killer, saying, "We must not think evil of this man." Another Amish father noted, "He had a mother and a wife and a soul, and now he's standing before a just God." Jack Meyer, a member of the Brethren community living near the Amish in Lancaster County, explained, "I don't think there's anybody here that wants to do anything but forgive and not only reach out to those who have suffered a loss in that way, but to reach out to the family of the man who committed these acts." A Roberts family spokesman said, and I guess that Roberts was the man who did it. A Roberts family spokesman said Amish neighbor comforted the Roberts family hours after the shooting and extended forgiveness to them. Amish community members visited and comforted Roberts' widow, his parents, and his parents-in-law. One Amish man held Robert's sobbing father in his arms, reportedly for as long as an hour, to comfort him. The Amish have also set up a charitable fund for the family of the shooter. About 30 members of the Amish community attended Roberts' funeral, and Marie Roberts, the widow of the killer, was one of the few outsiders invited to the funeral of one of the victims. Marie Roberts wrote an open letter to her Amish neighbors, thanking them for their forgiveness, grace, and mercy. She wrote, "Your love for our family has helped to provide the healing we so desperately need. Gifts you've given have touched our hearts in a way no words can describe. Your compassion has reached beyond our family, beyond our community, and is changing our world. And for this, we sincerely thank you." You can find that story in Wikipedia, by the way. And I found also, after the tragedy, several funds were established to assist the survivors. The Nickel Mines Children's Fund was established to aid the families of the children who had been shot, especially since the Amish had no medical insurance to pay for medical care. By 2007, some $4.3 million reported to have been donated to this fund. The Roberts Family Fund, also administered by the Amish, was set up to provide money for Roberts' widow. So when these shooters shoot, they're not, they call them lone wolves. They're not alone. They have families. They leave families behind who are hurting and in pain. And all too often they're ostracized. What does this story illustrate? It illustrates that we have the capacity as human beings to be compassionate and loving, even in the worst, most tragic circumstances. One of the little girls is she's still alive, but she can't feed herself. She can't walk. She can't talk. She had a brain injury. This shows us that we're not alone, and that we have the capacity to, we have an unlimited capacity within ourselves to heal whatever is broken, pained, sad, difficult, traumatized, whatever within us, whatever pain and hurt we have within us. We have the capacity to forgive, to move past it, and to love in spite of what has happened. And we get that not from the people in the world. We get it from within. We get it from the spirit of in. We get it from knowing that we are one with one another, and the pain of one is the pain of the other. And as we heal our own pain, we heal the pain of others. That's what this woman is saying, that the whole world is being healed at some level. And we who understand that we are one have the responsibility of manifesting that. And that's why we have this vision statement: a world that works for everyone. A world that works for everyone is one where people are still included even when they do horrendous things. It's hard. Spirituality is not easy. This is probably one of the most difficult paths of religion that you can possibly walk. I'm going to tell you now, because it calls on you to move beyond whatever you're seeing in the world and find that place within you where you know the spirit is alive and well and good and joyful and happy and peaceful and prosperous, and provides for you all the power that you need to have in order for you to love unconditionally. We have that capacity within us, but we have to look for God to do it. A world that works for everyone comes from our internal awareness, not necessarily from the external. It's wonderful if it happens like this. They've got a lot more money, by the way, because they've got movies. There was a Lifetime that did a movie on it and everything. So the community, that's how the world contributes. Okay, that's how these people did what they were doing. I have no doubt whatsoever that the Amish people did not think, well, we'll forgive these people and we'll get a movie contract out of this. That wasn't even a thought. That's all byproduct of being forgiving, of opening your hearts. And how many people then have been affected as a result of seeing the movie and realizing, well, if they could do that, maybe I can too. That's how we have, they have prison programs now where people go in and help people learn to forgive. So this is our challenge, to have a world that works for everyone. But we start with within. And that's what Ernest Holmes was saying, that our job is just to live, and to live fully, and to live completely. And the basis of that is love. And when Jesus loved, he did not condemn. When Buddha loved, he did not condemn. They embraced even the sinners. Can you imagine that? Embracing a sinner. Just imagine that. This year we have a lot of forgiving to do. Let's turn within. There is one life. There is one life, one presence, one power, one spirit. One. One life. And that one life has come into form. And into form, it comes into a multiple expression of individual expressions in terms of human beings, animals, even mosquitoes. It expresses itself out of itself because it has no other. Since it is one, it has no opposite. It has no challenge. It has to make everything out of itself. And so the one has made all that is out of itself, out of that oneness. And that oneness is power. That oneness is creative. That oneness is joy. That oneness is love that is so immense and all-encompassing that we can never, ever fully, completely embrace it, understand it, or realize it, for it is beyond our understanding. And so we simply reach out with the effort to grab, to understand, to be just a part of it, to just grab it for ourselves, to be that selfish piece that we come into an awareness of who we are in that oneness, of the power that we are in that oneness, of the joy that we are, that the life that we live is an expression of that oneness, and we get to individualize it. We get to have it show up in the world as us. And so we use it right here and now for healing those places of pain in ourselves. We use it now for healing those traumatized places within ourselves. We know in this very moment that all things are working for our highest, greatest, and most wonderful good, because why? God is at the very center and core of our being. Its life is our life. And so we are easily able to let go of anything and everything in the world, knowing that what is in the world is simply a manifestation of sometimes the love and sometimes the ignorance of the consciousness that we and others have displayed in our world. And so right here and now, we open ourselves to just learn to forgive, to open our hearts to love and to be loved, and to know that compassion is an expression of love. Forgiveness is an expression of love. And so as we feel this within ourselves, then we are able to express it outwardly in our world. We open our hearts and minds now to touch those people in our world who are in hurt and in pain, those who are afraid to move into the world in which we are now living. And I speak my word for our own healing, that if there's any place within us that is feeling fearful of where we are in the world today, that is being removed. Because the thing is as we open ourselves to the faith and the knowingness, there is an unlimited creativeness that comes to us and through us from the divine, and that allows us to grow into a world that we have not yet seen and we may not yet have envisioned. But we know in our hearts that there is the capacity, the capability, and we only need the willingness to have a world that works for everyone. And while we cannot touch people around the world, we can touch the people who in our own sphere of influence. We can touch the people in our family with our love. We can touch our friends with our love. We can lift them up, and we can forgive where forgiveness is necessary in our own world. We can love in our community. We can be here to support one another, to guide one another as we move through this spiritual maze and come to a greater awareness of who and what we are spiritually and in our physical form. I am knowing that this is an unfolding truth that is happening in us and through us and as us right here and right now. And I speak my word right now for those people in our community, our spiritual community, those of us who we know and those who we do not know, those of you who are out there in the world on Facebook or online and Zoom, wherever you may happen to be, if there is any place that in you that needs healing right now, just know that that healing is occurring. That healing is occurring. Why? Because you live in a world, a spiritual world, where spirit is the wholeness, the love, the creativity, and the ability to heal comes from that divine space. So as you allow yourself to simply bask in it, to know who you are, and simply be there, open and available, the spirit of life heals and makes whole. Why? Because it has no choice but to be the fullness, the wholeness, and the completeness within any situation, any problem, any difficulty, any fear, any trauma, any hurt, any pain. Right there, if we will just simply be still and know that God is. It is the one, and we are one with the one. And so we open our hearts with gratitude now, just because we can know this truth, because we can be this truth, and we allow its life to express itself fully and completely into and as who and what we are. And we rejoice knowing that it is so. We release, we let go, and we let God be God in us in this very moment. And so it is. Song. Okay, technical problems. Okay, so our offering, our Thanksgiving affirmation. Freely I give with a feeling of abundance, knowing that my gift blesses others and myself as well. Is that it? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. And our Thanksgiving affirmation. I am grateful for the divine givenness circulating abundantly through my life, our community, and our world. Okay, so, it's wonderful for us to have the opportunity to give here, but most of us are giving online these days, and I want to thank you for that. Yes, yes. If you do not have a Breeze account, email us and let us know, and we will set you up with one, because that's how you can, donate to our church and our community. Or you can go to our newsletter and click on the donation link there. And we accept money all week long, by the way. There's no Sunday only. Okay, so announcements. So speaking of trauma, Jean Bell is the education, she's a minister at SLCA, and they are going to be doing a workshop on trauma. It's going to be July 30th or August 6th, which I get. So those Saturdays, they may be Saturdays from 1 to 4. I should have looked that up. She just sent this to us this week. And she says, the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta has collaborated with Cobb Collaborative to provide the Connections Matter Georgia initiative, which is an in-person trauma-informed training designed to engage community members in building caring connections to improve resiliency, prevent childhood trauma, and understand how our interactions with others can support those who have experienced trauma. In the absence of caring relationship, trauma can disrupt healthy brain development. Communities can promote healthy brain development through relationship building. Promoting healthy brain development is essential to individual and community well-being. And so I have this. If you're interested, just let me know and I'll share it with you. And there's a registration link that we can share with you too. And for those of us here, probably those of you online have not noticed, but we are getting our outside of our building is being repaired and fixed and whatever. So we've got sheets or something up there covering up the windows today. Anyway, and it looks like we're going to get new air conditioning too. So Yep, we're getting new air conditioning too. It doesn't always work. So anyway, landlord's doing his job. Okay, thanks.
The fear kept me down for too long, afraid to take a step, scared of being wrong. Oh, but every leap of faith led me right where I belong. So I'm ready. I'm ready, and I'm rising, rising up. With my wings spread, I'm opening up. I am here for a grand adventure, ready to show up. So I am rising, rising up, stepping into the cave I fear most. Darkness all around, braving the unknown, and where I'll go next, only heaven knows. But I'm ready, so ready, and I'm rising, rising up. With my wings spread, I'm opening up. I am here for a grand adventure, ready to show up. So I am rising, rising up. And like a web of love I spread my light as I own my life. The fire ignites the well. Oh, and together we're rising up. With our wings spread, we're opening up. Oh, we are here for a grand adventure, ready to show up. So we are rising, rising up. Yes, together we're rising up. Oh, we are rising, rising up.
Yes. Yes, that we are rising up. Yep. In consciousness. In consciousness, okay? And consciousness attracts and brings us new things that allows us to experience the rising up. That is our service for today. And if you would like to hang around for a minute, Marcia, we'll give it a try to get you online so we can all wave and say hi. If you would like to hang around for a minute. And, let's do our closing affirmation and then we'll do the peace song. What? Okay. We go forth today knowing that we are God's blessing in the world. Only good goes from us and only good comes to us. And so it is. Oh, board meeting today. Yes, if you would like to stay for the board meeting, let Marcia know. Chat to her or something and let her know that you want to stay on.